They had the prize money, the fame, and the world titles. But when the lights went out, the demons took over. From alcohol addictions that defied medical science to shocking criminal convictions that erased decades of legacy. These aren't just players who lost a match. These are the icons who lost their fortunes, their freedom, and their lives. Here are 5 darts champions who lost absolutely everything. Jocky Wilson wasn't just a darts player. He was a folk hero. A small, toothless Scotsman who threw darts like he was fighting for his life. He won the World Championship twice, in 1982 and 1989. In the 1980s, Jocky was earning enormous money. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of pounds in sponsorships, exhibitions, and prize money. At his peak, he was one of the most recognizable faces in Britain. But here is the investigation into where it all went. Jocky didn't just enjoy a drink, he lived on it. Legend says he would drink 7 pints of lager with vodka chasers just to warm up. He played with a pint in his hand and a cigarette in his mouth. But the lifestyle wasn't sustainable. The taxman came knocking. Jocky had neglected his financial affairs for years. By the mid-90s, he was declared bankrupt. The fall was absolute. He retired from the sport in 1995 and vanished. He didn't become a pundit. He didn't do the Legends tour. He locked himself away in a small council flat in Kirkcaldy. He became a recluse, refusing to speak to journalists or old friends. He suffered from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease after years of chain smoking. The man who once had 8 million people watching him on TV died in 2012, isolated and poor. He earned a fortune, but left with nothing. Jocky Wilson's tragedy is the ultimate cautionary tale. Talent gets you to the top, but it cannot keep you there if you destroy yourself. Ted the Count Hankey was the villain everyone loved to hate.
Champion of the world, the Count Ted Hankey!
A 2-time world champion, his entrance was theatre. He threw bats at the audience. He had the psychological game of a genius. He won the biggest prize in the BDO in 2000 and 2009. He was a superstar who commanded huge appearance fees. But the collapse of Ted Hankey is perhaps the darkest story in darts history. It started with erratic behavior. In 2012, at the Grand Slam of Darts, he played while seemingly disoriented, leading to speculation about his health. He later blamed a mini-stroke. But the real destruction was financial and legal. In 2021, Hankey was declared bankrupt. The money from the world titles was gone. Then came the final nail in the coffin, a legacy-destroying event. In 2022, Hankey was charged with sexual assault. The details were disturbing. He withdrew from the World Seniors Championship, citing personal reasons. But the truth was a police investigation. He pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison. This wasn't just a fall from grace. This was an erasure. The darting world immediately cut ties. His name was removed from trophies. Footage of him is now uncomfortable to watch. Ted Hankey didn't just lose his money. He lost his freedom and his dignity. He went from the world champion, Count, to a registered sex offender in a prison cell. Andy Fordham was the people's champion, a massive man with a massive heart. In 2004, when he won the Lakeside World Championship, the roof nearly blew off the Frimley Green venue. He was earning big money, appearing on celebrity fitness shows, and living the dream. He was the most famous darter on the planet for a brief moment. But the Viking had a fatal flaw. His consumption was terrifying. Fordham admitted to drinking up to 24 bottles of Holston pills and a bottle of brandy before getting on stage. He weighed over 30 stone, 190 kilograms. He wasn't playing a sport, He was playing Russian roulette.
Crazy Russian roulette.
With his organs. The crash happened on live TV. In 2007, just moments before a dream showdown with Phil Taylor, Fordham collapsed. He was rushed to the hospital. Doctors drained liters of fluid from his chest. His liver was failing. He had to stop drinking immediately. Here is the cruel irony of his career. To save his life, he had to lose the weight. But when he lost 10 stone, he lost his balance and his throw. He couldn't play anymore. Fordham spent the next decade battling health issues, financial ruin, and the inability to compete. The exhibition money dried up because he was too sick to travel. He needed a liver transplant just to survive. He died in 2021, far too young. Andy Fordham didn't lose his career to a scandal. He drank it away, bottle by bottle, until his body simply shut down the business. Chris Mace the Ace Mason. Ask any expert and they will tell you he had the smoothest throw in the history of the game. He was technically perfect. He reached the semi-finals of the World Match Play and was a regular in the Premier League. He had the looks, the talk, and the skill to be the David Beckham of darts. But Mason had a temper that he could not control. He was always fighting battles, sometimes with the board, sometimes with the law. In 2003, everything fell apart. Mason was involved in a violent altercation. This wasn't a pub argument, it was a hammer attack. He was arrested, charged, and sentenced to 3 years in prison for causing grievous bodily harm. While his rivals like Phil Taylor were earning millions and building legacies, Mason was sitting in a cell. He lost his prime years. When he was released, the game had moved on. The standard had risen. He tried to come back, but the consistency was gone. The bad boy image stopped being marketable and just became sad. Mason admitted later that he wasted his gift. He ended up working in a tackle shop and doing TV commentary, watching lesser players win tournaments he should have dominated. He didn't lose his money to gambling. He lost his career to a moment of red mist. Richie Burnett was the Prince of Wales. In 1995, he became the youngest ever world champion. He had Hollywood looks and incredible talent. He beat Raymond van Barneveld in a classic final. He was set for life. He was the future of the sport. But the pressure broke him. Burnett's form dipped, and he disappeared from the elite level. For years, fans wondered why he couldn't hit a double. He was struggling with dartitis, the mental inability to release the dart. But the real story was darker. He was battling depression and using substances to cope. The rock bottom came in 2014. Burnett qualified for the World Championship, ready for a big payday. Suddenly, he was removed from the draw. No explanation was given. The silence lasted for months. Then the truth came out. He had failed a drug test for cocaine. He was banned for 18 months. The ban destroyed him financially. Darts players are self-employed. If you don't play, you don't eat. Burnett had to work on building sites to survive. He went from world champion to manual laborer. He lost his tour card, his reputation, and his income. He eventually returned to the tour, but he was a shadow of the prince who conquered the world. He proved that even if you reach the summit at a young age, you can still fall off the mountain if you use the wrong props to keep you upright. These 5 men proved that talent is cheap. Discipline is expensive. They conquered the world of darts, but they couldn't conquer themselves. From bankruptcy to prison, they lost the game of life while trying to win a game of 501. If you enjoyed this investigation into the dark side of the oche, hit that subscribe button. Which story was the most tragic? Let me know in the comments.